Will the Senate please come to order? Before calling the rolls, I have a few housekeeping announcements. In order to ensure that the live stream captures the roll call audio, please use your microphone in the chamber when responding. Advise and consent measures are listed on pages 8 through 17 and will be taken in one motion. During discussion, remarks on any of the nominees will be in order. At the end of the discussion, I will ask if there are any reservations or no votes, and you may indicate your vote on any of the GMs at that time. Please let me know if you have any questions. And Senate concurrent resolutions for final adoption are on page 18. Final reading bills have been segregated into several sections pursuant to the Hawaii State Constitution. No appropriation bill can pass final reading before the General Appropriations Bill this year, that is House Bill 200 Conference Draft 1, passes both houses of the legislature and is transmitted to the governor. Therefore, the House and the Senate will be considering House Bill 200 CD1 as the first order of business. The House has already passed the bill, so we will adopt it, recess to make sure it's enrolled to the governor. Floor amendments are on page 19, non-fiscal calendar pages 19 through 36, non-fiscal ordinary calendar 36 to 43, fiscal consent calendar 44 to 48, fiscal ordinary 49 to 51, motions to agree on Senate concurrent resolutions pages 52 and 53. Final adoption will be on Thursday, April 29th. Non-fiscal and fiscal consent calendar bills will be taken. Oh, I'm sorry, I read that. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Ocasio.
Present.
Senator Baker.
Here.
Senator Chang.
Here.
Senator Dela Cruz.
Here.
Senator English.
Present.
Senator Favela.
Here.
Senator Gabbard.
Here.
Senator Ihara.
Present.
Senator Inoue. Senator Kanuha.
Here.
Senator Keith Agaran.
Present.
Senator Keoho Kalole. Senator Kidani. Senator Kim.
Here.
Senator Lee. Senator Misalucha.
Present.
Senator Moriwaki. Senator Nishihara.
Present.
Senator Rhodes.
Present.
Senator Riviere. Senator San Buenaventura. Senator Shimabukuro.
Here.
Senator Taniguchi.
Here.
Senator Wakai.
Here.
Mr. President,
Present.
all 25 members are present.
Thank you. The chair has read the journal of the preceding day and approves the same. Are there any introductions this morning? Not, Madam Clerk.
Governor's message number 1110 informs the legislature that the governor signed House Bill 189 into law as Act 10.
File.
House Communication number 631 informs the Senate that various House concurrent resolutions were adopted in final form by the House, and House Communication number 632 informs the Senate that the House has reconsidered its action in disagreeing to the amendments proposed by the Senate to various House bills.
File.
On page 3, Conference Committee Report number 185 for 48-hour notice.
So ordered.
On pages 4 through 8, Standing Committee Report numbers 1853 to 1864 for one-day notice.
So ordered.
On pages 8 through 17, Advise and Consent.
If there are no objections from the members, we will be taking advise and consent on consent.
Standing Committee Report numbers 1794, 1795, and 1833 to 1852 on Governor's messages for adoption.
Is there any discussion? Senator Kim.
Thank you, Mr. President. Will you note reservations for me on Governor's message number 801? This is the only nominee that I was not able to talk with since they were deferred. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent?
25 ayes.
Thank you. The nominees for said governor's messages have been confirmed.
On page 18, final adoption of resolutions. Senate Concurrent Resolution Number 102, House Draft 1. Senate Concurrent Resolution Number 165, House Draft 1. 189, House Draft 1, and 191, House Draft 1 for adoption.
Senator Ke'oho Kalole.
I move for the adoption of said Senate concurrent resolutions.
Senator Favela.
I second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Any objections? If not, the motion is carried. Said concurrent resolutions have been adopted.
On page 19, final reading of the state budget.
If there are no objections from the members, we will take final reading on consent.
Conference Committee Report Number 180, final reading of House Bill 200, Conference Draft 1 relating to the state budget.
Is there any discussion? Senator Dela Cruz,
Thank you, Mr. President. In support.
please proceed.
I'd like to begin by thanking the Ways and Means Vice Chair Gil Keith Agaran, the senator from Central Maui, the Finance Chair and Finance Vice Chair, Senate and House leadership, and the Senate and House subject matter chairs for their blood and courageous leadership in addressing our state's extreme fiscal challenges. House Bill 200 is a culmination of many hours of dedication and diligent efforts by Hawaii's legislative body to identify opportunities for strategic additions, restorations, restructuring, reductions, and cuts across all 20 state departments. We believe that we have an executive budget that creates a leaner, more effective state government, addresses the needs of our most vulnerable residents, and stabilize essential services and programs as we make our way out of the fiscal storm of 2020. The House and Senate approached the conference draft with the intent to address the biennium budget with fiscal responsibility and restraint. House Bill 200 shores up our current state obligations while ensuring a solid financial future in the case the state is faced with another unforeseen economic upheaval. The House and Senate had the daunting task of balancing the state budget with the inclusion of the $1.6 billion allocated to the state through the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, also referred to as ARPA. With limited guidance from the Department of Budget and Finance and the federal government, determining the most appropriate use of the money was very difficult. The maintenance of effort requirement presented the greatest challenge while drafting a balanced budget. Your conference committee worked diligently to meet the proportional maintenance of effort funding requirements established under ARPA. We are proud to present a budget that meets the maintenance of effort requirement, thus ensuring the state's $1.6 billion ARPA allocation. The legislative draft of the state budget includes funding for supporting programs and services for agriculture, which included starting the pesticide disposal program and providing funds for programs in the agricultural development and food security. Funding to support our state museums, Iolani Palace and Bishop Museum, and allocating ARPA funds to the Hawaii Tourism Authority to help sustain our visitor industry and economy. Supporting Hawaii's learners and education systems by adding funding for alternative learning, teacher rental subsidies, a statewide trauma, and K-12 programming. For higher education, funding was added for the UH Manoa, Early College, JABSOM, athletics, and the Promise program. Funds were restored for special education, libraries, instructional support, school community services, charter schools, and the DOE weighted student formula. Funding to protect our natural resources were also restored. The Water and Land Development Division and the Native Resources and Fire Protection Program were now we have added resources for them, as well as the Conservation and Resource Enforcement Division. Supporting health and well-being of Hawaii's families by providing funding for critical human services, such as the General Assistance Program, homeless services, preschool open doors, Medicaid payments, the state rental supplement program, and in youth programs, in community youth programs. Funding for the critical programs such as Crime Victim Compensation Program, Career Criminal Victim Witness Program, and the Sex Abuse Treatment Center. It is also important to the committee to continuously evaluate the structure of government and identify efficiencies and reduce duplication. Where applicable, government agencies should be working with each other to provide services to our residents. With that in mind, and incorporating each department's executive budget requests, the budget reduced vacant positions, changed means of financing for certain programs, restructured, eliminated, or consolidated departments and programs to align with the state's goals and priorities. The conference draft includes consolidating the Land Use Commission, the Office of Environmental Quality Control, and the Office of Planning into a new budget program titled Office of Planning and Sustainable Development. The draft transfers permanent positions from the Department of Labor and Industrial Relations Research and Statistics Office to the Department of Business, Economic Development and Tourism's Economic Planning and Research to consolidate research and statistic functions. It also transfers permanent and temporary positions from the Hawaii Tourism Authority Tourism Research Office, also to DBED, to consolidate research functions. Creates new program IDs and transfers personnel and funds to the Hawaii Army and Hawaii and Air National Guard and Hawaii Emergency Management Agency. Transfers the Department of Education's Office of Information Technology Services from state administration to school support. Creates new program IDs and transfers UH Cancer Center from UH Manoa to UH Cancer Center. Transfers and consolidates permanent positions, federal funds, and general funds from the Workforce Development Council to the Workforce Development Division to retain the positions while consolidating the duties into a single office. Converts positions and programs funded by the Agricultural Development and Food Security Special Fund and the Agricultural Loan Reserve Fund to general funds. And to hold the ADC accountable, converts temporary positions from the Agricultural Development Revolving Fund to general fund. I really want to thank the leadership, I want to thank the members, and I want to thank the finance chair for all of your hard work and many, many hours. This has probably been the most challenging session with the limited time frame, with the amount of limitations, with the amount of restrictions, with the economic challenges. And if it wasn't for all of your hard work, I don't think we could do this. And we did it together, so thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion, Senator Keith Agaran.
Thank you, Mr. President. I also rise in support of this bill.
Please
I
proceed.
also want to thank all my colleagues as well as the chair of the Ways and Means Committee, our good senator from Wahiawa, for the hard work that he and his staff did on the budget on the operating side, and for all of the information and support they provided to my office for the capital budget. I want to thank also my colleague in the House who, as usual, negotiated to the best extent that he could on the priorities that they identified, to the extent they identified priorities. I want to thank the members in our body who identified the important projects that will enhance the lives of the people in their communities. And I'm hoping that we were able to put enough of those projects in here to continue the one area where the state can really directly affect the economy, and that is in the public works budget. With that, I also finally would be remiss in not thanking the members of my staff who, especially during the conference, which was, as the Ways and Means Chair mentioned, was fairly short, to reach a compromise on the capital budget. So let me thank my office manager, Susan, Danielle from my office, and Robert, who did the capital budget, as well as my session staff, Pam and Jimmy. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Otherwise, my thanks to all of the people that have been mentioned for the great work. Do we have unanimous consent?
25 ayes.
Thank you. House Bill 200, CD1 passes final reading. Short recess subject to the call of the chair. Will the Senate please come to order? Madam Clerk.
On page 19, floor amendments. Conference Committee Report number 160, final reading of House Bill 613, Conference Draft 1, relating to education.
Senator Kidani.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wish to offer floor amendment to House Bill 613, CD1.
Madam Clerk, please identify the amendment.
Floor amendment number 7, proposing an amendment to House Bill 613, Conference Draft 1, copies of which have been distributed to the members.
Senator Kidani.
Thank you, Mr. President. The floor amendment being offered for House Bill 613, CD1, amends the language on pages 14 and 15.
Senator Kidani, if you would move the amendment.
Oh, I'm sorry. I move that floor amendment number 7 be adopted.
Senator Kim.
Second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Senator Kidani.
Thank you, Mr. President. The floor amendment being offered for House Bill 613 amends the language on pages 14 and 15. Section 13 on page 14 clarifies that full-time and half-time teachers would qualify for the workforce stabilization payment. The amendment in Section 14 allows for greater flexibility for the Department of Education to find an appropriate location for the pilot greenhouse programs to promote sustainable agriculture and STEM and CTE training for our students within a complex area rather than a specific school. Mahalo.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? It's been moved and we already did that. So, is there any objections? Hearing none, so ordered. The clerk is directed to file Conference Committee Report number 160. 48-hour notice is hereby given for final reading of House Bill 613 CD2.
Conference Committee Report number 175, final reading of House Bill 499, Conference Draft 1, relating to lease extensions on public land.
Oh, excuse me, Mr.
Senator
President,
Gibb.
do we need to separate the committee report?
If there are no objections, short recess. Senator Kim, thank you for the correction. I must be hurrying to get to lunch and skipped one whole section. So if there are no objections to the floor amendment, the motion has been, floor amendment number 7 has been adopted. Senator Kidani.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to separate House Bill number 613, CD1, from Conference Committee Report number 160.
Senator Kim.
Second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Any objections? If not, the motion is carried. The clerk is directed to file Conference Committee Report number 160. 48-hour notice is hereby given for final reading of House Bill 613 CD2. Well, let's read the bill first.
Okay, Conference Committee Report number 175, final reading of House Bill 499, Conference Draft 1, relating to lease extensions on public land.
Senator Favela.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wish to make a floor amendment on HB 499 CD1.
Is there a second?
Mr. President,
Senator Ihara?
I wasn't planning to do this, but I will second the motion to give respect to our lone minority member, as I did with Senator Sloan a number of years ago that some senators may recall. Thank you.
Senator Ocasio just sat down after you offered so graciously to second the motion. We are now going to call for a short recess so we can distribute the amendment for the members. Will the Senate please come back into order? We should have had the amendment on the desk before taking the motion, so we'll begin at the beginning again. Senator Favela.
Senate President, I wish to offer a floor amendment to HB 499 CD1.
Madam Clerk, please identify the amendment.
Floor Amendment Number 8, proposing an amendment to House Bill 499, Conference Draft 1, copies of which have been distributed to the members.
Senator Favela.
I'm sorry. I move that the floor amendment number 8 be adopted.
Senator Ocasio.
I second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Senator Favela.
Thank you, Senate President. Mr. President, I rise in strong support of my floor amendment. Colleagues, HB 499 CD1 is a bill that will have devastating effects on the management of our public lands by allowing individuals to lease these important lands for almost 100 years without general public opportunity to lease these lands. What is even more terrifying in this bill is what the bill will do to thousands of acres of Hawaiian home trust land that will set aside for Native Hawaiians for homesteading. Because of the current language in this bill, which amends Chapter 171 of the Hawaii Revised Statute, does not prohibit language to the land management by the Department of Hawaiian Homelands, like this bill has included for the University of Hawaii. As a Native Hawaiian, and as anyone in this chamber who is Native Hawaiian, and anyone in the chamber who cares at all about Native Hawaiians, I can tell you that Prince Kuhil, 100 years after the passing of Hawaiian Homes Commission Act, would be embarrassed and ashamed. Excuse me, of this bill. And what this will attempt to pass today. Now, some of you might not have any idea of what I'm talking about. Some of you might not think that this bill has any effect on the lands that is under the Board of Natural Resources. But the reason in that Chapter 171 governs all agencies to lease public land unless they are exempt. The Department of Hawaiian Homelands, as a state agencies, thought of Hawaiian Homelands Commission must follow Chapter 171. When leasing trust lands, by passing this bill, we will be allowing the opportunity for current leasers, those who are not beneficiaries, and in many cases, not Native Hawaiian, to extend these leases, which they already have been leased for over 65 years, to another 40 years. By not restricting DHHL from this bill, like we've done for the University of Hawaii, this bill will violate of the Hawaiian Home Commission Act and is unconstitutional based on the federal law that replaced state law section 204 of Hawaii Homes Commission Act. It's crystal clear, and since many of you are not familiar with this, I would like to read it to you. Section 204, controlling the Department of Available Land, returned to the Board of Land and Natural Resources when other lands use of upon the passage of this act, all available land shall immediately assume status of Hawaiian Homes land by under the control of the department to be used and disposed of in accordance with provisions of this act, except that in the management of any retained available land not required for leasing under the Section 207. The department may dispose of these lands or any improvement thereon to the public, including Native Hawaiians, on same terms and condition, restrictions, and use that applies to disposition of public lands in Chapter 171. Hawaii Revised Statute provides the department may not sell or dispose of any such land in fee simple exempt of authorities under the Section 205 and this Act. Providing further that the department is expressly authorized to negotiate prior to negotiation with general public disposal of Hawaiian homeland and any improvements thereon to the Native Hawaiian or organizations, association, or owned and controlled by Native Hawaiians for commercial, industrial, or business purposes in accordance with the procedures set forth in the Chapter 171 Revised Statute. In summary, the DHHL is prohibited from this existing general lease is for those lands are not required for leasing for Hawaiian homestead with the 28,000 people on the 28,000 people on homestead list. Every acre Hawaiian Homes Trust land must consider for homestead leasing before general leasing is allowed or allowed. Especially general leasings to non-Native Hawaiian beneficiaries. Especially general leases to non-Native Hawaiian beneficiaries. Now you may wonder how many leases that will be applied to, so let me tell you how many leases would be allowed extending these leases under this bill, island by island. Hawaii Island, 72 leases, 740 acres. Kauai Island, 6 leases, 72 acres. Molokai, 5 leases, 1,762 acres, Oahu, 39, 248 acres, Colleagues, that is about 3,000 acres is being leased and leased to less than 1% of Native Hawaiians. This information you can find in the DHHL 2020 annual report. So I request support for my amendment to exclude DHHL from the amendment to HRS 171. And I also would like to note that the reason for the University of Hawaii is excluded from this bill, one reason is Mauna Kea. The university lease on Mauna Kea expires in 2033, and everyone in this building knows that if the University of Hawaii was not excluded from this bill, that we would have thousands of angry constituents here at the Capitol protesting this bill. But But what has been also conveniently not discussed in this bill, is what the bill has potential to do for government leases, also under the jurisdiction of BLNR. Poakaloa, Makua Valley, Kokea, and, Kokea, and, all of these leases will expire in 2029. And this bill would also open the door for the federal government to extend their leases for another 40 years. Colleagues, this is a bad bill. And at the very least, we should adopt my proposal floor amendment, since this bill violates Hawaiian Home Commission Act, and if not, should be voted this bill down and returned to conference committee. Senate President and members, colleagues, friends, family, I read this thing word for word, because this morning coming in here with a very heavy heart, with a lot of emails, a lot of calls from not only my constituents that is Hawaiian, but my non-constituents that is not Hawaiian. This bill is very bad for our community, because when I went to committee hearings and we wanted to extend Prince Kuhio Mall's extension, in the book, Hawaiian Homes book here, we talked about it, and I didn't read much about it until I read this. Their lease is not until 9/30/2042. So, colleagues, why are we in the rush to pass this bill when most of these leases that is coming up, even this one is way far away, and we have other leases that is coming up, again, not giving an opportunity for Native Hawaiians to do businesses. So there's a lot more in the book I was going to read, but because time permit, I'm not. But we have always said that we are here to provide, not only for everyone, but for Native Hawaiian to prosper in businesses. But today, we have a bill before us that is going to prevent that for another 100 years. So colleagues, I ask you please, if you can support my floor amendment, I appreciate it. Again, thank you, Senate President. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Senator Favela. Further discussion? Senator Inouye?
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to speak against this amendment, and
Please
it's
proceed.
unfortunate that this amendment is not coming from any of the conference chairs. I ask colleagues that you join me in voting against the amendment before us to HB 499, Senate Draft 1. Mahalo, Mr. President. Mahalo, colleagues.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Senator Ocasio.
Mr. President, I stand in support of this amendment.
Please proceed.
Please insert into the journal the senator from Eva's voice as if it was my own.
So ordered.
Thank you.
Further discussion? If not, all those in favor of the amendment say,
Can I call for a recess?
there are no objections, short recess. Senate is called back to order. We are in the process of voting on floor amendment number 8. Senator Favela.
Senate President, if we can have a roll call vote, please.
So ordered. Do we have any further discussion? If not, the motion is to approve the amendment, and I vote is in favor of the amendment. No vote is against the amendment. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Ocasio?
Aye.
Senator Baker?
No.
Senator Chang?
No.
Senator Dela Cruz? Senator English? Senator Favela?
Yes.
Senator Gabbard?
No.
Senator Ihara?
Reservations?
Senator Inoue?
No.
Senator Kanuha? Senator Keith Agaran? Senator Keoho Kalole?
No.
Senator Kidani? Senator Kim?
No.
Senator Lee? Senator Misalucha?
No.
Senator Moriwaki? Senator Nishihara?
No.
Senator Rhodes?
No.
Senator Riviere? Senator San Buenaventura? Senator Shimabukuro?
No.
Senator Taniguchi?
No.
Senator Wakai?
No.
Mr. President,
No, the motion to adopt floor amendment number 8 fails. If there are no objections from the members, we will be taking final reading of House Bill number 499, Conference Draft 1 on consent.
Conference Committee Report Number 175, final reading of House Bill 499, Conference Draft 1, relating to lease extensions on public lands.
Is there any discussion? Senator Inoue.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise in strong support of House Bill 499 CD1.
Please proceed.
At its core, HB 499 CD1 applies to current leases used for commercial, industrial, resort residential, mixed use, or government purposes. It authorizes BLNR to extend the current leases for another 40 years, provided that the lessees make substantial improvements to their properties. This means that the burden of improving leased properties lies on the lessee, many of whom are willing to make the investment in exchange for lease extensions. This is not a bill to deny benefits for beneficiaries. It is a bill about jobs, economic stability, opportunity, sustainability, vitality, and community improvement. Mr. President, I have an extensive speech prepared. I would like to enter this into the record, into the journal.
So ordered.
Mahalo.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Senator Favela.
Senator President, thank you. I am in strong opposition to this bill.
Please proceed.
On what I had said earlier. Okay, we're talking about lease and commercial land, but again, are we putting it out so Native Hawaiians can put out the bid for this lease and commercial land? No. We want to have improvements on hotels and resorts that's going to be millionaires that's going to put in the money and then pretty much for 20 to 30 years have free lease rent because they made improvements on the property that they should have made improvements on prior. So again, that's why I stand in strong opposition, because we're giving millionaires free lease to Hawaiian land. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? Senator Kidani.
Thank you, Mr. President. I stand in support of.
Please proceed.
In reading the testimony, and I did not attend the hearings, but in reading the testimony, I did not see any from Department of Hawaiian Homelands. I did, however, read testimony that the developer of one of the projects on Department of Hawaiian Homelands at the Bolodrome could use this bill because in order to finance the project for low housing rentals for our Hawaiians, they would need at least a 75-year lease on the property. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Further discussion?
Mr. President.
Senator Favela.
Yes, I understand that Hawaiian Homes is not in opposition to this bill. And if you guys read more into this bill, you guys are going to know why. Because what we had voted down previously with the casino bill, this is just a door of opening it up. And that's what the reason why they're not in opposition, because they're having benefits on the side. I'm talking about the Native Hawaiian people that's not going to benefit. The guys who have companies that can put in builds, can put in stuff, can do development. They have plenty of Hawaiians today that can do all of those things what Senator Kadani just said. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? Senator Ocasio.
Thank you, Mr. President. I stand to speak in opposition.
Please proceed.
Colleagues, I stand to speak in opposition to House Bill 499. We all come to the floor having heard the concerns about the length of leases and how it will impact public interest, specifically Native Hawaiians. But there is another equally, if not greater, concern here. House Bill 499 seeks to grant BLNR the authority to extend leases on land over which it has no jurisdiction. The Hawaiian Homes Commission Act of 1920 specifically states that homestead lands are not public lands. BLNR does not have the authority to negotiate leases for DHHL lands. Yet proponents of this bill maintain that somehow the language in this measure can give BLNR the right to do that. HB 499 will amend Chapter 171. Chapter 171 governs the use of public lands. DHHL is not public lands. BLNR does not have the authority to negotiate leases for DHHL lands. Yet, I'm sorry, I'm rereading. Maybe it's for a reason. I'll continue. BLNR does not have the authority to negotiate leases for DHHL lands. Yet proponents of this bill maintain that somehow the language in this measure can give BLNR the right to do that. HB 499 will amend Chapter 171. Chapter 171 governs the use of public lands. DHHL is not public lands. Under the Hawaiian Homes Commission Act, Section 206, the powers and duties of the Governor and the Board of Land and Natural Resources in respect to lands of the state shall not, I repeat, shall not extend to lands having the status of Hawaiian homelands. The architects of this bill think they can give BLNR the power to extend leases on DHHL land by including a definition of government use as a development undertaken under a lease held by any agency or department of the state. Somehow they decided it was important to exempt the University of Hawaii or any department, agency, or administratively attached entity of the University of Hawaii system. Why the University of Hawaii? Why not DHHL? There is also an argument being made that DHHL follows DLNR standards when it comes to commercial leases. That somehow this makes House Bill 499 okay. The legal difficulties I am citing now, the many phone calls in opposition and testimonials, as you may or may not have read, tell us all that more consideration is due. As the senator from EVA stated, there's no rush for this, as the Prince Kuhio Plaza lease agreement is not up till into the 2040s. The long-term lease extension, or the long-term extension of leases, including some leases being extended over 100 years, has an effective sale of these lands and predetermines these lands for commercial purposes in perpetuity. There have been years and years of litigation regarding these lands. For example, Office of Hawaiian Affairs versus Housing Community Development Corporation of Hawaii. A settlement was obtained in which plaintiffs gave up their right to pursue litigation in reliance that 2/3 of the legislators must agree to the sale of ceded land from the Public Land Trust. This bill effectively nullifies this settlement agreement by transferring these lands to BLNR without the two-thirds legislative approval originally agreed upon. Interestingly, and very telling, there is a complete void of testimony from DHHL in all of this. All year, as a member on the Hawaiian Affairs Caucus, I have witnessed DHHL comment, oppose, or support on every single measure that even remotely relates to their duties and purview. Given the hundreds of testimonies in opposition to this measure from all walks of life, not one comment from Department of Hawaiian Homelands. This bill is poorly written and poorly conceived. There is no immediate need for its passage, and I urge my colleagues to join me in voting against it. Please allow time to give us all time to consider its implications fully. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Senator Riviere,
Thank you, Mr. President. In opposition with brief comments.
please proceed.
Thank you. My opposition is basically on the process and the fiduciary that the state has. The state, as the manager of these lands, has leased out various lands for economic purposes and uses, and that's all well and good. And I fully understand the complications as the lease draws towards a conclusion, and the tenant wishes to rehabilitate the property, revitalize it, and reinvest in it. And they are constricted by the shortening lease. Fundamentally, the lease is meant to expire down to a zero value. That's the whole purpose of the lease, as opposed to a sale, is that anyone going into the lease understands that as you get closer to the termination, your rights will evaporate, just as a leased car or property. So my objection is that we should rather encourage reopenings of the lease. So when we get to that end of the period when property tenants wish to recapitalize and rehabilitate, it is, after all, state land, state-managed land. And so I think the state should look after its interest and consider a reopening of the lease to allow any other potential tenants to compete. That would give us better value for our property. I understand that circumstances may be that nobody would compete, and then you could then do the lease, but you would have kind of a consistent process for it. And it is for those reasons then that I think a reopening of the lease would be preferable to granting people just to continue to stay in there. And finally, I would note that some decades ago there was a similar discussions regarding leasehold properties for residential tenants, where we ended up forcing the landowners to sell the land. And if it comes to a point in some future date where people feel like they own the land, maybe there will be efforts to force the sale of land. So I just think that we should maintain the leasing process and reopen when appropriate. So for those reasons, I'm in opposition to this. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? I have no votes for Senators Ocasio, Favela, Riviere. Any other no votes? Senator Rhodes, Senator Kim, Senator Keoho Kalole, Senator Nishihara, Senator Ihara, and Senator Shimabukuro. Any reservations? Reservations for Senators Kanuha, Moriwaki, Baker, Taniguchi, Misalucha, San Buenaventura, Lee, English.
Mr. President?
Oh, Senator Chang, are you a reservation?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President.
Sorry.
Seventeen ayes, 8 noes.
Thank you. House Bill number 499, CD1, Passes final reading.
Beginning on the bottom of page 19, final reading of the non-fiscal consent calendar. Final reading of the non-fiscal consent calendar, beginning with Conference Committee Report Number 1 on Senate Bill 151, Conference Draft 1 on page 19, to Conference Committee Report Number 168 on House Bill 526, Conference Draft 1 on page 36.
Is there any discussion? Senator Ocasio.
Mr. President, please note my no vote on page 26, Committee Report 61, Senate Bill 404.
Further discussion, Senator De La Cruz.
Thank you, Mr. President. Please note my no vote on page 35, Conference Committee Report Number 166, HB 485, HD1, SD1, CD1, relating to taxation, rental motor vehicle surcharge tax.
Further discussion? Senator Riviere? No objections, brief recess. Will the Senate please come back into order? We are on the non-fiscal consent calendar. We have a no vote on page 26, Report 61, Senate Bill 404 for Senator Ocasio. Senator De La Cruz?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to reconsider what I said regarding committee report, Conference Committee Report 166. I am in support of that bill. I meant to oppose a bill coming up on the ordinary in regards to Committee Report 77. So I am in support of House Bill 485.
Your support is now noted, objection withdrawn. Any further discussion? Senator Gabbard?
Mr. President, would you please direct the clerk to insert into the journal my remarks in strong support of CCR 22 SB 345 CD1, CCR 69 SB 348 CD1, and CCR 110 HB 553 CD1. Mahalo.
So ordered. Further discussion, Senator Keith Alvarado.
Thank you, Mr. President. Could you direct the clerk to insert my remarks in support of CCR 54, Senate Bill 474, CD1, and CCR 166, House Bill 485, CD1. Thank you.
So ordered. Further discussion, Senator Baker.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have some remarks in support of House Bill 1296 and House Bill 1192 I'd like to have inserted into the journal.
So ordered. Further discussion. Senator Keoho Kalole.
Call for a recess, please.
No objection, short recess. Please come back into order. We're on the final reading non-fiscal consent calendar. Any further discussion? Otherwise, do we have unanimous consent? I have a no vote for Senator Ocasio on Committee Report 61, Senate Bill 404. Any other no votes? Any reservations?
We have 25 ayes on all bills except for Senate Bill 404, Conference Draft 1, which is 24 ayes and 1 no.
Thank you. All bills on the non-fiscal consent calendar from Senate Bill 151, CD1 on page 19 to House Bill 526, CD1 on page 36, pass final reading.
We are now on final reading of the non-fiscal ordinary calendar, which begins on page 36. Conference Committee Report Number 3, final reading of Senate Bill 1053, Conference Draft 1, relating to the Hawaii Community-Based Economic Development Technical and Financial Assistance Program.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have any reservations? Any no votes? Do we have unanimous consent?
25 aye. I'm sorry.
Senator Ocasio?
I'm sorry, Mr. President. Are we on Conference Committee Report number 3
Yes.
through 15?
We're on Senate
Just
Bill
3.
1053.
My apologies, thank you. Please note my opposition.
No votes so noted. Again, any other no votes? Any reservations? Do we have unanimous consent, Madam Clerk?
24 ayes and 1 no.
Thank you. Senate Bill 1053, CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report number 6, final reading of House Bill 177, Conference Draft 1, relating to sexual assault.
Is there any discussion? If not, I see no vote for Senator Favela. Any other no votes? Any reservations?
Reservations, please.
So noted for Senator Ocasio. Do we have unanimous consent?
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. House Bill 177, CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report number 15, final reading of Senate Bill 413, Conference Draft 1, relating to violation of privacy.
Is there any discussion? I have a no vote for Senator Favela. Any other no votes?
No vote, please.
So noted. No vote for Senator Ocasio. Any reservations? Reservations for Senator San Buenaventura. Do we have unanimous consent?
23 ayes, 2 noes.
Thank you. SB 413, CD1 passes final reading.
We are on page 37. Conference Committee Report number 17, final reading of Senate Bill 1421, Conference Draft 1, relating to dual-use technology.
Is there any discussion? If not, I have a reservation for Senator Favela. Senator Ocasio?
No vote for me, thank you.
No vote for Senator Ocasio. Any other no votes? Do we have unanimous consent?
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 1421, CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report number 19, final reading of Senate Bill 1222, Conference Draft 1, relating to the Conference Center Revolving Fund.
Is there any discussion? I have reservations for Senator Favela. Any other reservations? Any no votes? If not, do we have unanimous consent?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 1222, CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report number 24, final reading of Senate Bill 855, Conference Draft 1, relating to coffee pest control.
Is there any discussion? If not, I have any reservations? Any no votes?
Mr. President, please note my opposition.
No vote for Senator Ocasio. Do we have unanimous consent?
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. Senate Bill 855, CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report number 25, final reading of Senate Bill 412, Conference Draft 1, relating to operating a vehicle under the influence of an intoxicant.
Is there any discussion? Senator San Buenaventura.
Just short remarks. I'm going to be voting with reservations because
Please
the whole idea behind implied consent law is that we could not force a blood test. So this bill basically forces a blood test, and so there is no reason to have both the implied consent as well as the search warrant requirement. For those reasons, reservations.
So noted. Any further discussions? Senator Ocasio.
Please note my opposition to this measure. Mr. President, may I speak?
So noted. Are there any other no votes? Oh, I'm sorry. Please proceed.
I just would like to note that under Hawaii Revised Statutes 291E-11 and 291E-15, once a police officer informs a person suspected of drunk driving about his or her rights under the implied consent law, and once that person refuses to submit to testing, the police are bound to respect that refusal. This bill allows the police to ignore a person's objection to the invasion of his or her body and can authorize the police to forcibly extract blood in any case and whenever they feel like it. On Maui, for example, 4 police officers handcuffed a non-consenting suspect to a chair and conducted a painful wrist lock maneuver in order to extract the blood from his veins. Our state constitution expressly protects the privacy rights of Hawaii's people. We need to continue to strengthen our constitutional rights, protect both the public and on-duty officers, and promote decency between public and the police. Mahalo.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Senator
Sorry,
San
Mr. President.
Buenaventura?
I'd like to change my vote to a no vote. Thank you.
Powerful persuasion between colleagues from the Big Island. So I have 2 no votes, Senators San Buenaventura and Ocasio. No vote for Senator Favela and Riviere. Any other no votes? Senator Kim. Senator Ihara. Any reservations? Do we have unanimous consent?
Nineteen ayes, 6 noes.
Thank you. SB 412 CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 37, final reading of House Bill 103, Conference Draft 1, relating to emergency powers.
Is there any discussion? I have a no vote for Senator Favela. Any other no votes? Do I have any reservations? Reservation for Senator Kim. Senator Ihara. Do we have unanimous consent?
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. HB 103 CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 40, final reading of House Bill 1016, Conference Draft 1, relating to the taking of marine life.
Is there any discussion? Senator Inouye.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise in support of House Bill 1016 CD1. This is a bill that aims to make life of commercial fishermen a little easier. And Mr. President, I have comments that I'd like to enter into the journal. Mahalo.
So ordered. Further discussion? If not, I have a no vote for Senator Favela. Any other no votes? Senator Ocasio?
No vote, please.
So noted. Any other no votes? Any reservations? Do we have unanimous consent?
23 ayes, 2 noes.
Thank you. HB 1016 CD1 passes final reading.
We're on page 38. Conference Committee Report Number 44, final reading of House Bill 334, Conference Draft 1, relating to operating a vehicle under the influence of an intoxicant.
Is there any discussion? Not, I note reservations for Senator Favela. Any other reservations? Any no votes? Do we have unanimous consent?
25 ayes.
Thank you. HB 334 CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 45, final reading of House Bill 887, Conference Draft 1, relating to crime.
Is there any discussion? If not, I notice I note reservations for Senator Favela. Any other reservations? Senator Ocasio.
Reservations.
Reservations for Senators Favela and Ocasio. Any no votes? Do we have unanimous consent?
25 ayes.
Thank you. HB 887 CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 46, final reading of Senate Bill 367, Conference Draft 1, relating to water quality.
Is there any discussion? If not, I note no vote for Senator Favela, no vote for Senator Ocasio. Any other no votes? Any reservations? Do we have unanimous consent?
23 ayes, 2 noes.
Thank you. SB 367 CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 55, final reading of Senate Bill 1313, Conference Draft 1, relating to sport fish.
Is there any discussion? If not, I note no vote for Senator Favela and Senator Ocasio. Any other no votes? Any reservations? Do we have unanimous consent?
23 ayes, 2 noes.
Thank you. SB 1313 CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 67, final reading of Senate Bill 615, Conference Draft 1, relating to rentals of mopeds and motor scooters.
Is there any discussion? Senator Baker.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise in strong support of Senate Bill 615, Senate Draft 1, Senate Draft 1, Conference Draft 1, relating to rentals of mopeds and motor scooters, also known as Lexi's Law. In 2017, a 24-year-old Lexi died in a tragic scooter accident while on vacation in Maui. On the day of her accident, she rented a scooter in the Kihei area of Maui, happens to be my district. While riding back to drop off her scooter, she collided with a white work truck and was killed almost instantly. Also, from 2016 to 2018, there were 23 motor scooter and moped operator fatalities in our state. 22 of the 23 were not wearing helmets. Wearing a helmet while operating these motorized cycles significantly decreases fatalities and serious injuries. According to the Department of Health's Hawaii Injury Prevention Plan, properly worn helmets prevented deaths and brain injuries. In the event of a crash, helmets reduce the risk of death by 42%, and they reduce the risk of a head injury by 69%. Senate Bill 615, Conference Draft 1, strengthens helmet safety laws as they relate to rented mopeds and motor scooters. Accordingly, this measure requires all moped and motor scooter rental companies to ensure that a rider wears a safety helmet supplied by either the rental company or the renter prior to operating the moped or motor scooter. If this measure had been in effect at the time that this young 24-year-old rented her motor scooter, she might still be with us today. The measure also prohibits the rental of any moped or motor scooter with an aftermarket modification. This measure will definitely help save lives. Please join me in supporting this very important piece of legislation. Mahalo.
Thank you. Further discussion? Not, I note reservations for Senator Favela. Any other reservations? Any no votes? Do we have unanimous consent?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 615 CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 70, final reading of Senate Bill 309, Conference Draft 1, relating to privacy.
Is there any discussion? If not, Senator Ocasio? No vote for Senator Ocasio. Any other no votes? Any reservations? Do we have unanimous consent?
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 309 CD1 passes final reading.
On page 39, Conference Committee Report Number 72, final reading of Senate Bill 726, Conference Draft 1, relating to policing.
Is there any discussion? Senator Favela.
Thank you, Senate President. I'm voting no on Senate Bill number 726 HD1 CD1. If you read in the, oh, sorry, thank you. We have HPD and also a lot of law enforcement is against this. I know there's a lot of stuff that's been going on with police officers and things of that nature, but if you look at the time that you want them to say police and then count 30 seconds, the person in the house, if they are in danger to the police officer or people around, will have more than enough time to either get their weapon, prepare themselves for the police entering, or getting rid of the evidence. You know, you guys had this in testimony in the committee. So I just saying, colleagues, for our safety of our law enforcers, our brothers and sisters in blue, that this bill would be endangering their lives and others. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? Do we have any other no votes besides Senator Favela, Senator Riviere? Any reservations? Reservations for Senator Wakai, Senator Dela Cruz. Do we have unanimous consent? Reservations for Senator Kidani.
23 ayes, 2 noes.
Thank you. SB 726 CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 73, final reading of Senate Bill 639, Conference Draft 1, relating to courts of appeal.
Is there any discussion? Senator Keith Agaran.
Yeah, Mr. President, I have some written remarks in support of Senate Bill 639 that I would like inserted into the journal.
So ordered. Further discussion? If not, Senator Ocasio. No vote for Senator Ocasio. Any other no votes? Any reservations? Oh, no vote for Senator Ihara?
Oh, reservations? Reservations for Senator Ihara.
Reservations for Senator Ihara. Do we have unanimous consent?
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 639, CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 77, final reading of House Bill 1377, Conference Draft 1, relating to citations.
Is there any discussion?
Mr. President,
Senator Kim.
I rise in opposition of House Bill 1377, Conference Draft 1.
Please proceed.
Mr. President, this bill would put on a mandatory $5 fee in addition to all citations. Whether or not you decide to do this electronically, you will be required to pay the extra $5. And for those individuals who do not have computers or do not have electronic capability, I'm really not sure how they will deal with this. These fees are already very high, and it should include the costs for any kind of electronics as well. And so for those reasons, and for my constituents who may be hit with this additional $5, I will be voting no.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Senator San Buenaventura.
I'm also voting no on this and having short remarks in opposition.
Please proceed.
Throughout this session, whenever an agency like the PUC or taxation wanted electronic types of filing, their testimony has always been that it's cheaper to do it. So my question is, why is it we're charging more? And especially for parking citations where it's like a 50% increase, seems to me it's too high a tax. For those reasons, I'm voting no.
Thank you. Further discussion? Senator Favela.
Yes, thank you, Senate President. I'm also voting in opposition to this bill, and I want to insert comments to the journal from Senator from Kalihi. Thank you.
So ordered. Further discussion? Do we have any further no votes besides Senators Ocasio, Kim, San Buenaventura, Favela? So let me see. Kanuha, Wakai, Inoue, Moriwaki, Riviere, Misalucha, Taniguchi, Kidani, and Dela Cruz.
Mr. President?
Senator Ihara? You're a no,
No.
vote? No, I see your hand now in the light. Senator Chang is a no vote?
Yes,
Senator
thank you, Mr. President.
Nishihara is a no vote? So House Bill 1377, CD1 fails. Next item, please, Madam Clerk.
I have 10 ayes and 15 noes on House Bill 1377, Conference Draft 1. On Conference Committee Report Number 80, final reading of House Bill 1022, Conference Draft 1, relating to the taking of natural resources.
Is there any discussion? Senator Inoue.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise in support of HB 1022 CD1. I have comments that I'd like to have inserted into the journal.
So ordered. Further discussion? If not, I see a no vote for Senator Favela. Any other no votes? Any reservations? Reservations for Senators Ocasio, Taniguchi. Senator Ocasio?
Mr. President, that's a no vote, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so we have no votes for Senators Ocasio and Favela. Reservations for Senator Taniguchi. Any other reservations? Do we have unanimous consent?
23 ayes, 2 noes.
Thank you. HB 1022 CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 85, final reading of Senate Bill 1096, Conference Draft 1, relating to insurance.
Is there any discussion? If not, Senator Ocasio, is this a no vote? Reservations for Senator Ocasio. Any other reservations? Any no votes? Do we have unanimous consent?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 1096 CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 86, final reading of Senate Bill 320, Conference Draft 1, relating to tax return preparers.
Is there any discussion? Reservations for Senator Favela. Any other reservations? Any no votes? Do we have unanimous consent?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 320, CD1 passes final reading.
On page 40, Conference Committee Report Number 87, final reading of Senate Bill 589, Conference Draft 1, relating to the University of Hawaii.
Is there any discussion? If not, I see Senator Ocasio. Is that a no vote? Reservations for Senator Ocasio? Any other reservations? Any no votes? Do we have unanimous consent?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB
Mr. President?
589, CD1 passes final reading. Senator Keith Agara?
I have some written remarks in support of Senate Bill 589 I would like inserted into the journal.
So ordered.
Conference Committee Report Number 94, final reading of Senate Bill 159, Conference Draft 1, relating to voting.
Is there any discussion? Not, I note reservations for Senator Favela. Any other reservations? Any no votes? Do we have unanimous consent?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 630, CD, oh, I'm sorry. SB 159, CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 95, final reading of Senate Bill 630, Conference Draft 1, relating to child support enforcement.
Is there any discussion? Senator Keith Agaran.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I have some written remarks in support of Senate Bill 630 that I'd like to insert into the journal.
So ordered. Further discussion? Not, I see reservations for Senator Favela. Any other reservations? Reservations for Senator Ocasio? Any no votes? Do we have unanimous consent?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 630, CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 115, final reading of House Bill 1149, Conference Draft 1, relating to land use.
Is there any discussion? Senator Inouye.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise in support of HB 1149 CD1. I have comments that I wish to have entered into the journal. Mahalo.
So ordered. Further discussion? If not, I see reservations for Senator Favela. Any other reservations? Any no votes? Do we have unanimous consent?
25 ayes.
Thank you. HB 1149, CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 121, final reading of House Bill 73, Senate Conference Draft 1, relating to emergency workers.
Is there any discussion? Not, I have a no vote for Senator Favela. Any other no votes? Any reservations? Reservations for Senator Ocasio. Do we have unanimous consent?
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. HB 73, CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 122, final reading of House Bill 357, Conference Draft 1, relating to statute of limitations.
Is there any discussion? If not, Senator Ocasio, no vote? Any other no votes? Do we have any reservations? Do we have unanimous consent?
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. HB 357, CD1 passes final reading.
Page 41, Conference Committee Report Number 124, final reading of House Bill 80, Conference Draft 1, relating to the low-income housing tax credit.
Is there any discussion? If not, I see reservations for Senator Favela. Any other reservations? No votes. No vote for Senator Ocasio. Do we have unanimous consent?
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. HB 80, CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 126, final reading of House Bill 824, Conference Draft 1, relating to intoxicating liquor.
Is there any discussion? Do we have any reservations? Reservations for Senator Favela? Any no votes? If not, do we have unanimous consent?
25 ayes.
Thank you. HB 824, CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number...
Excuse me, brief recess, please.
No objections? Will the Senate please come back into order, Madam Clerk?
We're on page 41. Conference Committee Report Number 128, final reading of Senate Bill 765, Conference Draft 1, relating to operating a vehicle under the influence of an intoxicant.
Is there any discussion? If not, I see a reservation for Senator Favela. Reservations for Senator San Buenaventura Kim. Any other reservations, Senator? Oh, no vote. Please proceed.
Thank you. In opposition with the brief comment, this is an awkward one to oppose because nobody can support or condone drunk driving and excessive drunk driving, highly intoxicated. My opposition is related to the Class B felony. I think it's criminalizing it to a degree that's no longer, it becomes too punitive and not necessarily going to, I don't know, I don't think it's going to achieve the goals, and it's going to put more people in prison for a longer period of time when they need substance abuse treatment more than they need jail time. So for that reason, I'll be in opposition. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other no votes besides Senator Revere, Senator Ocasio, Senator Kidani? So noted. So the no votes, we have Senator Ocasio, Revere, Favela, Kidani. San Buenaventura is no vote. Senator Kim is still reservations. Any other reservations? Do we have unanimous consent?
20 ayes, 5 noes.
Thank you. SB 765, CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report number 130, final reading of Senate Bill 242, Conference Draft 1 relating to education.
Is there any discussion? Not. Senator Ocasio, is that a no vote? Reservations? Any other reservations? Do we have unanimous consent?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 242, CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report number 136, final reading of Senate Bill 1329, Conference Draft 1 relating to procurement.
Is there any discussion? Senator Kim.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise in support of Senate Bill 1329,
Please
CD1.
proceed.
Mr. President, for as long as I have been in elective office, I have heard complaints about our procurement process, about how long it takes, how it adds to the cost of projects and doing business in Hawaii, and the protester is always blamed for this. For decades, we've been trying to reform procurement, and this bill will have a huge impact in doing so. It addresses the only entity in the procurement process that don't have time limits and have been responsible for months of delays. The procurement officer, or PO, and its department is responsible for putting out the bid and knowing the bid specs better than the bidders. Thus, the PO is much more knowledgeable to be able to see if any of the bidders' protests contains issues that are valid. Despite this, the bidder has only 5 days after the award is made to figure out the errors and file a protest. But the PO currently has unlimited days to address the protest. HRS 103D-701 requires the aggrieved party, the bidder, to submit to the procurement officer within 5 days. HAR 3-126-42 requires the protester to file an appeal with DCCA Office of Administrative Hearings within 7 days after the decision from the PO. HRS 103D-709 hearing officer must issue a decision from the time the appeal is filed within 45 days. And HRS 103D-710 circuit court must issue a decision no later than 30 days from the filing of the application for judicial review. This measure puts a 75 days with a 45-day extension time limits on the PO to resolve the protest, and this is still much longer time frame than any of the time constraints the law currently places on the contractor, on DCCA, and the courts. Additionally, the bill also places a 1% of the project cost bond requirement on the protester. If the protester prevails and the PO is wrong in the award, the protester gets his bond back. But if the protester does not prevail, he's penalized and loses the 1%, which could be hundreds of thousands of dollars that goes to the general fund. Note, there is no consequence for the PO or the department. This bill is limited to construction contracts and all airport contracts. And one of the main arguments made in favor of the airport authority proposal in the past was procurement. And I've heard from the airport vendors that with this measure, they will no longer need to have an airport authority. Mr. President, this is just the start of procurement reforms we need to make. I commend the GVO chair from Kaka'ako for taking on such a huge challenge on her first year as GVO chair. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Further discussion? Not before calling the vote, I want to acknowledge the previous GVO chair, Senator Kim, and the current GVO chair, Senator Moriwaki. I have or am in receipt of your communication indicating this is a first step and that this is a matter that should be further studied in the interim. I'll be circulating your communication to leadership, and you should get an approval to undertake the task of reviewing the procurement code shortly. Do we have unanimous consent?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 1329, CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 141, final reading of Senate Bill 873, Conference Draft 1, relating to contested cases.
Is there any discussion? Not, I note reservations for Senator Favela. Any other reservations? Senator Ocasio. Any no votes? Do we have unanimous consent?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 873, CD1 passes final reading.
We're on page 42. Conference Committee Report Number 143, final reading of Senate Bill 548, Conference Draft 1, relating to elections by mail.
Is there any discussion? Not, I note reservations for Senator Favela. Any other reservations? Any no votes? Do we have unanimous consent?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 548, CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 148, final reading of Senate Bill 808, Conference Draft 1, relating to the School Facilities Agency.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Senator Ocasio?
Please note my opposition to Senate Bill.
No vote for
808.
Senator Ocasio. Any other no votes? Any reservations? Do we have unanimous consent, Madam Clerk?
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 808, CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 151, final reading of House Bill 1299, Conference Draft 1, relating to non-general funds.
Is there any discussion? Not, Senator Ocasio, is that a no vote? No vote for Senator Ocasio. Any reservations? Reservations for Senator Taniguchi, Senator Gabbard. Do we have unanimous consent?
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. HB 1299, CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 152, final reading of House Bill 224, Conference Draft 1, relating to the State Health Planning and Development Agency.
Is there any this is for recommittal. If there are no objections from the members, we will recommit Conference Committee Report Number 152 and House Bill Number 224, CD1 to the Committee on Conference. Hearing no objections, so ordered.
Conference Committee Report Number 165, final reading of House Bill 891, Conference Draft 1, relating to electric guns.
Is there any discussion? Not, I note reservation, no vote for Senator Favela. Any other no votes? Any reservations? Do we have unanimous consent?
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. HB 891, CD1 passes final reading.
Page 43, Conference Committee Report Number 170, final reading of House Bill 468, Conference Draft 1, relating to the Hawai'i Employer Union Health Benefits Trust Fund.
Is there any discussion? If not, Senator Ocasio. No vote for Senator Ocasio. Any other no votes? Any reservations? Reservations for Senator Riviere. Senator Kim, reservations? I can't hear with the mic. Reservations is correct? Reservations for Senators Riviere and Kim. No vote for Senator Ocasio. Any other no votes? No vote for Senator Favela. Do we have unanimous consent?
23 ayes, 2 noes.
Thank you. HB 468, CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 171, final reading of House Bill 930, Conference Draft 1, relating to Employees Retirement System investments.
Is there any discussion? If not, Senator Ocasio, is that a no vote? No vote. Any other no votes? No vote for Senator Favela. Any reservations? Do we have unanimous consent?
23 ayes, 2 noes.
Thank you. HB 930 CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 172, final reading of House Bill 58, Conference Draft 1, relating to state funds.
Is there any discussion? Senator Rivera,
Thank you, Mr. President. In opposition?
please proceed.
My opposition is regarding the conveyance taxes. While it's easy to say, let's take that money from all the rich people and the rich houses, I would remind my colleagues that the conveyance tax was created to fund the Bureau of Conveyances. It was originally 1/10 of 1% of sales price, and the purpose was to basically pay for that important recording division. In recent years, it's become a cash cow, and every year we come back and we take more and more and more, and it's completely unrelated to the original purpose of that tax. And for that reason, I just can't support taking more just because we can. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? If not, I have a no vote for Senator Rivera. Any other no votes? Any reservations? Reservations for Senator Misalucha? Do we have unanimous consent? Oh, reservations for Senator Kim, I'm sorry.
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. HB 58 CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 173, final reading of House Bill 774, Conference Draft 1, relating to development districts.
Is there any discussion? If not, Senator Ocasio, is that a no vote? Any other no votes? Any reservations? Do we have unanimous consent?
Mr. President.
Oh, Senator Ihara, I'm sorry. Reservations?
Reservations for House Bill 774.
So noted.
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. HB 774 CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 176, final reading of House Bill 469, Conference Draft 1, relating to the transfer of non-agricultural parklands.
Is there any discussion? Senator Inouye.
Yes, Mr. President, I rise in support of House Bills 469 CD1, and I have comments I'd like to have it entered into the journal. Mahalo.
So ordered. Any further discussion? Not Senator Ocasio, no vote? Reservations? Any other reservations? Reservations for Senator Favela? Do we have unanimous consent?
25 ayes.
Thank you. HB 469 CD1 passes final reading.
Beginning on page 44, final reading of the fiscal consent calendar. Final reading of the fiscal consent calendar beginning with Conference Committee Report Number 9 on House Bill 943, Conference Draft 1 on page 44, to Senate Bill 506, House Draft 2 on page 48.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent?
25 ayes.
Thank you. All bills on the fiscal consent calendar from HB 943 CD1 on page 44 to SB 506 HD2 on page 48 pass final reading.
On page 49, final reading of the fiscal ordinary calendar. Conference Committee Report Number 21, final reading of Senate Bill 1412, Conference Draft 1, relating to special purpose revenue bonds for the Honokea Surf Village.
Is there any discussion? Not Senator Ocasio, no vote? Any other no votes? No vote for Senator Favela. Any reservations? Do we have unanimous consent?
23 ayes, 2 noes.
Thank you. SB 1412 CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 38, final reading of House Bill 237, Conference Draft 1, relating to invasive species.
Is there any discussion? Not, I know, oh, Senator Inouye.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do have comments. I'd like to have it into the journal in strong support. Mahalo.
So ordered. Further discussion? Not, I note reservations for Senator Favela. Any other reservations? Any no votes? Do we have unanimous consent?
25 ayes.
Thank you. HB 237 CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 79, final reading of House Bill 1318, Conference Draft 1, relating to sustainability.
Is there any discussion? If not, I note reservations for Senator Favela, Senator Ocasio. Any other reservations? Any no votes? Do we have unanimous consent?
25 ayes.
Thank you. HB 1318, CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 100, final reading of Senate Bill 932, Conference Draft 1, relating to the Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism.
Is there any discussion? If not, I note reservations for Senator Favela. Any other reservations? Senator Ocasio? Any no votes? Do we have unanimous consent?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 932, CD1 passes final reading.
On page 50, Conference Committee Report Number 112, final reading of House Bill 834, Conference Draft 1, relating to a black cinder cone quarry site survey.
Is there any discussion? Senator Inoue.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do have comments. I'd like to have it entered into the journal in support. Mahalo.
So ordered. Further discussion? If not, I see reservations for Senator Favela. Any other reservations? Senator Ocasio. Any no votes? Do we have unanimous consent?
25 ayes.
Thank you. HB 834, CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 127, final reading of House Bill 766, Conference Draft 1, relating to the Department of Transportation.
Is there any discussion? If not, I note reservations for Senator Favela. Any other reservations? No vote. Oh, Senator Kim, are you reservations? Yes. No vote for Senator Riviere, Senator Ocasio. Do we have unanimous consent?
23 ayes, 2 noes.
Thank you. HB 766, CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 150, final reading of House Bill 1298, Conference Draft 1, relating to state funds.
Is there any discussion? If not, Senator Ocasio, is that a no vote? Oh, reservations for Senator Ocasio. Any other reservations? Reservations for Senator Gabbard. Any no votes? Do we have unanimous consent?
25 ayes.
Thank you. HB 1298, CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 155, final reading of House Bill 869, Conference Draft 1, relating to special purpose revenue bonds to assist Luana Kai, a life plan community.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Oh, I'm sorry. Reservations for Senator Lee, Senator San Buenaventura. No votes? I'm sorry. So, reservations for Senator San Buenaventura. Any other reservations? No vote for Senator Lee.
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. HB 869, CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report Number 159, final reading of Senate Bill 1350, Conference Draft 1, relating to state government.
Is there any discussion? Senator Kim.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise in support with reservations.
Please proceed.
Mr. President, my reservations is not on the merit of the contents of the bill, but rather on the process. As we all know, this Senate bill was gutted and replaced with a subject that was not discussed in any bill this session. It was gutted and replaced on the House floor on third reading and returned to us for agree-disagree. According to Senate Rule 23, if a bill contains any significant or substantial amendment and the public has not been provided with an opportunity to submit testimony on the significant amendment, it must have a public hearing. This rule was adopted by this body to prevent gut and replace maneuvers like this. The public, and especially watchdogs like Common Cause, League of Women Voters, Civil Beat, Honolulu Advertiser, have admonished this practice. We have even been sued and have a pending lawsuit before the judiciary over a gut and replace measure that was less egregious than this bill. Yet where is Common Cause? Where is the League of Women Voters, Civil Beat, Gary Hoosier? In fact, every article I read this past weekend on this bill, nothing was even mentioned in the articles that this was a blatant gut and replace. I raised this because I was instrumental in including Rule 23 in our Senate rules. I have voted against gut and replace bills in the past, and to be consistent, I should vote no on this one as well, except because it is our pay raises, it would be misconstrued. It is obvious that our legislative watchdogs are only interested in gut and replace when it suits their interests. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion, Senator Keoho Kalole.
In support.
Please proceed.
I was going to give a speech, but the prior senator's was better. I would just like to note that, if the ends are so significant that they justify the means, then let's be transparent about the means. And with that, I support the bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion, Senator Moriwaki?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. In strong support of Senate Bill 1350.
Please proceed.
Your conference committee on 1350 worked with our House counterparts to find agreement on this bill. Part 1 of the measure defers the planned salary increases for the executive, judicial, and legislative branches for an additional 18 months until December 31st, 2022, delaying our scheduled pay raises until January 1, 2023. It represents yet another delay in the salary increases recommended by the Commission on Salaries in 2019. But it is a decision that comes at a time when we all suffer from the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. Mr. President, with Part 2, your conference committee restored the original bill's reapportionment provisions. The Hawaii State 2011 Reapportionment Commission, in its final report, recommended needed reapportionment improvements, including clarification of the definition of permanent resident and streamlining the public notice of proposed, revised, and final reapportionment plans. Once the Senate heard that the U.S. Census data report to the states would be delayed by 6 months or more, we drafted the original bill to address the needed reapportionment changes. After the House removed the reapportionment language, your Senate members worked to restore the deleted language. This conference draft now incorporates the Commission's recommendations. It only removes non-permanent residents from the total population of the state as counted by the U.S. Census Bureau. It uses a short-form public notice that significantly reduces costs while also making available to the public the Commission's actions, the reapportionment plan, and other related documents. And because of the delayed census results, this bill also moves the date for nomination paper availability from February to March for the 2022 election only. As importantly, it provides the funding needed for the 2021 Reapportionment Commission to do its work. Mr. President, I wish to commend the work of Senate conferees Rhodes, Wakai, and Lee, and Ways and Means Chair Dela Cruz. Together, the conferees ensured the needed reapportionment changes, including an appropriation for the Reapportionment Commission's functioning. They were all restored to the original Senate bill. After negotiations, the House agreed. Colleagues, despite your concerns about Part 1, we now have the bill we need. I urge you to support Senate Bill 1350, Conference Draft 1. Mahalo. And Mr. President, I also have additional remarks I'd like to add to my remarks here.
So ordered. Thank you. Any further discussion, Senator Nishihara?
Yeah, Rising, with reservations, I'd like to have the comments of the senator from Salt Lake be entered into the journal as if they were my own.
So ordered. Do we have further discussion? Senator Keoho Kalole, you test me again.
Thank you, Mr. President. I neglected to enter the comments of the senator from Salt Lake as if they were my own. And I just would like to add one brief remark. In the 2 weeks since Part 1 of this bill was inserted, which is the pay deferral section, the plaintiffs of the Gut and Replace lawsuit, the Civil Beat Law Center for the Public Interest, the League of Women Voters, and Common Cause, as noted prior, have said nothing about the use of Gut and Replace here, and it is my belief that tacit acceptance of this bill should render their lawsuit moot, and their appeal should be withdrawn, and we should not utilize any further taxpayer money to argue this matter before the Supreme Court. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion, Senator Kim?
Just a correction. I believe the senator from Salt Lake sits over there, the senator from Kalihi-Moanaloa. Thank you.
Since the senator from Salt Lake didn't say anything, then we know whose comment should be inserted as if they were his own. Do we have further discussion? Before calling on the vote, I do have one editorial. One more editorial comment to mention, since it wasn't brought up. 2 weeks ago, on a Saturday, the Star Advertiser wrote an editorial urging the Senate to adopt this bill. That was the intent of the article. That was all that the editorial had to say. Do the right thing, Senate, vote for the bill. Yet, the authors of the editorial chose to write that the bill was amended on April 7th in the Finance Committee. And whether it was a mistake or it was done intentionally to imply that it was amended, it was heard before it got to the full floor of the House, we'll never know. But I do know that those are the words that were written to give the impression that the bill was amended and not amended on the floor of the House in a gut and replaced. It did not post a draft and did not get a hearing. I immediately pulled out my cell phone, went to the legislature's website, and checked bill status on Senate Bill 1350. And it simply said, pass finance unamended on April 7th. So I leave everyone to judge how and why that was put in when the accurate information was so readily available on the legislature's website as to the status of the bill. But it's disappointing journalism and reporting, to say the least. Do we have unanimous consent? Senator Dela Cruz?
If I could just ask that the words of the senator from Kalihi, Kaka'ako, Kaneohe, and Kauai be entered into the journal as if they were my own.
So ordered. Any further discussion? Senator Favela? So noted. Do we have unanimous consent? Oh, reservations for Senators San Buenaventura, Favela, Taniguchi, Ocasio, English, Kidani, Misalucha.
Twenty-five ayes.
Thank you. SB 1350 CD1 passes third or final reading.
On page 51, Conference Committee Report number 169, final reading of House Bill 1296, Conference Draft 1 relating to state funds.
Is there any discussion? Senator Baker.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have opposition to, I rise in strong concerns about this measure. I oppose sections of House Bill 1296 relating to state funds because it repeals the Hawaii Tobacco Prevention and Control Trust Fund and transfers the money to the general fund. As a former WAM chair, I can certainly appreciate the fiscal difficulties that the state faces in the wake of this pandemic. But this repeal doesn't take place until 2025, 4 years from now. So I'm not sure why we're doing it now. For 2 decades, the trust fund has been the primary source of funding for tobacco prevention, education, and cessation efforts in Hawaii and supports over 20 local organizations. Losing these programs will be detrimental to Hawaii's public health. As a Coalition for Tobacco-Free Hawaii states each year, 1,400 people die from tobacco use or exposure in Hawaii, and the state pays $536 million in health care because of tobacco smoking. Transferring the tobacco fund money to the general fund will not solve these problems. They will not solve our fiscal problems. There are many long-term costs and harms to repealing the trust fund, and therefore I respectfully have to oppose this measure and would urge others to join me. Mahalo.
Thank you. Further discussion, Senator Rhodes?
Thank you, Mr. President. Could I just join the previous speaker, treat the previous speaker's remarks as my own, please?
So ordered. Further discussion?
Mr. President.
Senator Dela Cruz?
In support.
Please proceed.
When the finance chair and myself met with the Attorney General, the Budget Department, the Department of Health, they explained to us that over time, spending will exceed the revenues that are generated from the trust fund. The reason why it's being repealed in 2025 is because the contracts don't end until 2025. This is a suspension of additional funds going into the trust fund, and at such time, the legislature can appropriate the needed funds to continue the programs. There will not be a disruption in programs. This bill will allow the programs to continue as they currently are. I hear the senator's concerns, which is why in the SD1, we did have $7.3 million in the general fund, in the base budget to pay for these programs. Based on what happened in the conference committee, those funds are no longer needed because there are monies in the trust funds that will continue to pay for these programs for the time being. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? Not, I have reservations for Senator Favela, Senator San Buenaventura, Senator Moriwaki, Senator Misalucha, Senator Shimabukuro, Senator Nishihara, Senator Ihara, Senator Chang. No votes for Senator Baker, Senator Taniguchi, Senator Rhodes, Senator Ocasio. Do we have unanimous consent?
21 ayes, 4 noes.
Thank you. HB 1296 CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report number 174, final reading of House Bill 1348, Conference Draft 1, relating to the Stadium Development District.
Is there any discussion? If not, Senator Ocasio, is that a no vote? Any other no votes? Any reservations? Reservations for Senator Kim. Do we have unanimous consent?
Mr. President.
Oh, Senator Ihara, reservations?
Yes.
Reservations for Senator Favela.
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. HB 1348 CD1 passes final reading.
Conference Committee Report number 184, final reading of House Bill 862, Conference Draft 1, relating to state government.
Is there any discussion? If not, I have a no vote for Senator Favela. Any other no votes? Senator Ocasio. Any reservations? Reservations for Senator Taniguchi, Senator Ihara. Oh, Senator Chang, reservations? Do we have unanimous consent?
23 ayes, 2 noes.
Thank you. HB 862 CD1 passes final reading.
Referrals and re-referrals.
Referrals and re-referrals are made in accordance with the supplemental order of the day, which may be distributed to your offices later today. Oh, Senator Dela Cruz.
Mr. President, I move to reconsider previous action on Senate Bill 726, Conference Committee Report 72.
Senator English, can we have a second, please?
Mr. President, I second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. If there are objections, we are reconsidering action on Senate Bill 726 CD1. It is Conference Committee Report number 72 relating to policing. If there are no objections from the members, I'd like to recommit this bill. Hearing no objections, yes, Senator Rhodes. No vote for Senator Rhodes on the recommit. Okay, 726, Senate Bill 726 CD1 is recommitted to committee. Oh, Senator
Mr. President,
Chang.
please note my no vote on the recommittal.
No vote for Senators Chang and Rhodes, San Buenaventura. Madam Clerk, can we go to miscellaneous communications?
Yes, we can. Page 52. Miscellaneous communication number 3 transmits a legislative communication from the President of the Senate and the Speaker of the House extending the 2021 conference deadlines for several measures.
File.
Also on page 52, miscellaneous business, reconsideration of disagreement to House amendments and motions to agree. Senate Concurrent Resolution number 26, House Draft 1.
Senator Moriwaki.
Yes, Mr. President, thank you. I move that Senate reconsider its previous action disagreeing to the amendments made by House SCR 26, Senate Draft 1, and agree to said amendments.
Senator Ke'eho Kaloni.
I second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Senator Morawaki.
Yes, Mr. President, this resolution urges the empowerment of young women by recognizing October 11th as the International Day of the Girl. The Senate version would have this day as an annual recognition in perpetuity. However, the House amended it to only apply to October 11, 2021. Mr. President, there are no hard and fast rules that resolutions can only be for a one-time action. However, Senate Rule 88 provides that the Masons Manual of Legislative Procedures, 2010 edition, where not inconsistent with the rules and practices of the Senate, shall govern. While Masons does not mandate that a resolution may only be for a one-time action, it does provide that guidance that generally a resolution does not prescribe a continuing rule of conduct for government. This is why we agree with the House amendment and move to reconsider.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Senator Nishihara?
Senate President, I'd like to insert into the journal comments in support of CCR 139, Senate Bill 664. Thank you.
We're on 26. So we'll insert your comments where appropriate. Further discussion? Any objections? If not, motion is carried. One-day notice is hereby given for final adoption of SCR number 26, HD1.
Senate Concurrent Resolution number 219, House Draft 1.
Senator San Buenaventura.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate reconsider its previous action in disagreeing to the amendments made by the House to SCR 219 and agree to said amendments.
Senator Ke'oho Kalole.
I second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Senator San Buenaventura.
The House version of changing this resolution to require the broadband Hawai'i to collaborate with the Executive Office of Aging strengthens the resolution, and as such, we request that it be adopted. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Any objections? If not, the motion is carried. One-day notice is hereby given for final adoption of SCR number 219, HD1.
Mr. President,
Senator Ocasio?
can I ask for a moment of recess?
No objections? Will the Senate please come back into order? Madam Clerk, before proceeding to the next item, I've been informed that I missed a no vote for Senator Ocasio on the motion or vote to recommit Senate Bill 726 CD1 relating to policing. If you note the correction.
Yes, Mr. President.
Next item, please. Senator Taniguchi is.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate reconsider its previous action in disagreeing to the amendments made by the House to Senate Concurrent Resolution 164, Senate Draft 1, and Senate Concurrent Resolution 242, Senate Draft 1, and agree to said amendments.
Senator Ke'oho Kalole.
I second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Senator Taniguchi.
Thank you, Mr. President. The House amendments to SCR 164, this is the Protecting the Right to Organize Act, updated legislative references to include action taken by the U.S. House of Representatives on March 9, 2020, and made other technical non-substantive changes. The House amendments to Senate Concurrent Resolution 242, which is regarding Creative Resurgence Task Force, only made technical non-substantive changes. These amendments to both SCR 164 and SCR 242 are acceptable to your Committee on Labor, Culture, and the Arts.
Is there any further discussion? Any objections? If not, the motion is carried. One-day notice is hereby given for final adoption of SCR number 164, HD1, and SCR number 242, HD1.
On page 53, Senate Concurrent Resolution number 190, House Draft 2.
Senator Lee.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate reconsider its previous action in disagreeing to the amendments made by the House to SCR 190 SD1 and agree to said amendments.
Senator Ke'oho Kalole.
I second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Senator Lee.
Thank you, Mr. President. These amendments made by the House to this particular measure were technical, friendly amendments, so it's the recommendation of your committee that we proceed.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Any objections? If not, the motion is carried. One-day notice is hereby given for final adoption of SCR number 190 HD2.
We have no further business, Mr. President.
Are there any announcements today? Senator Dela Cruz.
Thank you. I just would like to be permitted additional remarks to be inserted into the journal regarding House Bill 200.
So ordered. Any further discussion or announcements? If not, I'll reserve the comments till Thursday. Senator English. And I do have one. There will be no Senate leadership meeting immediately after we adjourn today. Senator Ke'oho Kalole.
I move that the Senate stand adjourned until 11:30 a.m. on Thursday, April 29th.
Senator Favela.
I second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded. If there are no objections from the members, the Senate will stand adjourned until 11:30 a.m. Thursday.